wetudda nga omukyala atusigira ekifaananyi ng'atugamba waliwo omusajja azze wano abadde munene alina ekirevu ayambadde topi ya black n'ebyambalo byayambadde bya black naye ye nga tali mu uniform ali mu leeya nga munenenene bw'ati. Era nze nakimanyirawo nti oyo muwummuza kubanga ye yali akola ki yatumanyi ffenna atumanyi kuba atutambulyako. Muwummuza yatuuka ku maka ga Isima n'ababuuza kati n'asooka ayimiriza gano amagye ge yali atambula nago agamuli emabega abo abaali mu uniform n'abagamba simama. Kati ye n'abeera ng'ayingira mu nnyumba n'alingizaayo bw'ati agenda okulingizaayo ndowooza yali akimye effengolo ye baamulidde dda ndowooza yali alowooza naffe tukyaliwo. So kati bwe yabagamba simama n'alingizaayo n'amala ne beetooloola awo ennyumba ne bamala ne batambula ne badda mu mmotoka zaabwe ne bakola ki ne bagenda. Naye nga mission eyaliwo naffe ndowooza baali baagala otutwalira abo Katonda yataasa butaasa awo we twawonera ffe bwekityo bwe kyali.
Thank you. Thank you, Chagulanyi, for your innovation in calling him and having him get on as he had a network issue. We appreciate him sharing as much. Again, this is the final speaker from the panel, and so I will briefly translate, and this time we'll go to the audience. Jamshid was abducted. He told us about his ordeal. He was abducted in what has now come to be known as a drone, which is usually a minivan. The minivans that have been reconditioned to suit the purposes of abduction, made many stops along the way until he was detained in a place that he later got to know as the dreaded and infamous or notorious Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence Detention Centers, which is a detention center, which is a dungeon. Many people have complained or talked about being held here. He gave us a description of the basement or the dungeon in which people are held, and said if you've been brought in without any major injuries, you are immediately restrained using handcuffs and will spend up to 3 days on those restraints. Calls of nature are to be answered there. You will not be allowed to go somewhere to relieve yourself in a place of convenience. He also said some people have actually died there on those cuffs. On his own injury, his captors refused to release him until he got better, saying that they cannot release him with evident torture marks, as well as the bullet wound that he sustained when he was shot in the process of being abducted. It's a terrible ordeal that he went through. But that's essentially what he said. His final remarks were about how Eddie Mutwe was abducted, where they'd gone to attend an event for a child who was being named or some such social event. And that's when a drone, the one that I described earlier, came and out of which these armed operatives came, threatened them with guns, and took Eddie Mutwe away. Finally, he makes mention of the presence of a notorious individual called Muhumuza, who is regularly seen trailing Honorable Chagulanyi and other party leaders and bodyguards of the leadership of the party. This gentleman was present at the scene and so evidently helped or at least took part in the process of abduction. Dr. Nalukwago, who is your first speaker from the audience? 1 minute.
I've given Dr. Morgan, who's going to be the first speaker, but strictly 1 minute. Once it clocks a minute, I switch you off. So be as brief as you can. In fact, time yourself. So unmute yourself, please.
I hope I use the 1 minute well. Greetings, everyone listening in. Mr. President, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, fellow Ugandans that are listening in. I'm honored to speak to you on this virtual gathering. We are united in solidarity for our brother Edward Sagufu and all other victims of oppression in Uganda. Today we stand together not just for Eddie Mutwe, but for every Ugandan yearning for freedom, justice, and dignity. from across the last 40 years. Edward Sebufu, who was abducted in Mukono by military men, is not an isolated act. It is part of the systematic campaign to silence, dissent, and crush the aspiration of we, the people of Uganda, that are yearning for freedom. The chilling confirmation from Muhozi, the Nepo baby, boasting of how he's holding Eddie in his basement, is a mock of rule of law, a mock to the people of it is a mockery to the people of Uganda, and it continues to expose the brutality that we have faced for at least for the 30 years ago. But let me say this clearly. They can detain us. Nepo baby, you can detain Eddie, but you can't detain the spirit of change that lives in us. His fight breathes through us.
I
And we,
think your minute is up, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Nalukwago, is that correct?
I didn't use the minute, but okay. I'll land by reminding the people of Uganda, we know who our enemy is. Our enemy is not the Banyankuri. Our enemy is not the Baganda. Our enemy, just like the president said the other day, is Mohozi and his power drunk father. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Dr. Nalukwago, your next speaker from the audience. Dr. Nalukwago, who else are you giving the mic? Okay, if she's having trouble, I will request a handle that goes by the name The Good Girl at Pliam. Please unmute and go ahead.
Hello, good evening. Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. You have a minute.
Well, thank you for accepting me and thank you for the minute. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. President. Well, since I only have 1 minute, I'll just, send my question direct to the president. I think we've cried long enough. I think so many of us here have cried every time these stories are repeated. We're listening and, our hearts are heavy and we feel like we've been on the lamentations for so long. So my question is, what is the next course of action? We need to know what we can do to help the situation because, recently the Uganda Human Rights Commission ordered for the release of Eddie. Everything was ignored. We've called, we've written, we've done everything that I think we've said whatever we have said for so long. I think it's time to do something more than just speaking, more than just listening into people crying. We've cried long enough. So, Mr. President, what else can we do? What is the next course of action?
Great.
Me and so many others feel we should do something about this. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Great. Thank you. I will now request Dr. Daniel Kawuma to share.
Yes, greetings, everyone. I recognize our president and our party leadership. On behalf of the diaspora, I greet you all, and I want to use this platform to also repeat the call for the president that what we want to hear now is action. Action, and every diaspora member who is on this platform, I re-echo those sentiments that we need to do our part as a diaspora and hit the streets wherever we are. In the diaspora, we have more liberties, more freedom of speech in many of the territories. So I call on all of you, let's hit the streets, let's demonstrate, let's petition stakeholders to make sure that there's accountability for the regime. The question I have is probably the question many Ugandans have, and we have seen what our neighbors in Kenya have been able to do, where there seems to be more sensitization among the masses to draw the correlation between their plight, their suffering, and the leadership in power. I sense there's there are two things. One may be fear, two comfort among the Ugandan populace, where we seem to be either we have resigned or we are just fearful. If you look at the elections, almost about the section of the voters who turn up is decreasing. We saw what happened in Kawempe. So what more can be done in Uganda to sensitize the masses to realize that there's more that needs to be done to remove Museveni? Because I feel there's some form of comfort among the young people, and of course even the elites. So when you make a call that let's demonstrate, let's put pressure on our representatives, members of parliament, is it more of an issue of lack of sensitization? Is it an issue of fear? What more can we do as people in the struggle, not just NUP, but people in FDC, ANT, and others,
Thank
to
you.
make sure that we rally our troops together to dethrone Museveni? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kauma. Shamim Nambasa, you have requested. Uh, Dr. Shamim Nambasa, please accept the mic and go ahead. Okay, while that